Like 5,000 likes to this video, we will upload more patriotic news. Thank you. Disturbing plan to take down Ivanka Trump just discovered. Here's the sickening reason why. I know I always say now we've seen it all, but this time liberals have stooped to a new low, even for them. Vogue magazine is now reporting that Ivanka Trump, President Trump's daughter, and confidant, is now to be considered untrustworthy. Why, you may be asking yourselves. Because the liberal rag that is Vogue magazine is claiming she wasn't able to persuade her father to continue with the insane social justice experiment former President Barack Hussein Obama started by having transgendered people serving as soldiers in the U.S. military. Yes, Vogue is the very same magazine that has said multiple times before that we need heavy background checks and psychological tests in order for average Joe to go buy a firearm, is okay with arming people for battle who are so damned confused that they don't even know if they possess a wee-wee or a hoo-hoo. Vogue reports, another school shooting. My knees go weak as I sit on the couch searching for details. Although I have never been involved in one of these tragedies, they are deeply personal for me. It is every parent's nightmare to get the call that his or her child has been the victim of a shooting. The call I fear is that my child is the shooter. My handsome, blue-eyed son, we'll call him Russell, is autistic and mentally ill. Now 18, he is at that vulnerable stage when young men so often go off the rails. He is also old enough to buy a gun. Both sides of the gun control argument agree that certain people should not have access to guns. Throughout Russell's difficult childhood, I have known that he is one of those people. I never considered that the law would allow him to purchase a gun, and that I wouldn't be able to prevent it. Russell's struggle started at 3 years old, with hallucinations both visual and auditory. He'd see dead people lining the streets in old-fashioned clothing, or owls in his closet, or dinosaurs in the hall, or dragons, lots of dragons, which would swoop around him and protect him with their wings. He'd conjure them for comfort to hide him from a world he did not understand. But the comfort came at a price. The wall of wings would clap around him, trapping him in a terrifying void, a void where he could not see or hear the real world, or any of us who lived in it. He'd curl up in a ball in the corner of the classroom, or in the middle of the playground, and soil himself. I'd race to the nurse's office with fresh clothes and fold him in my arms, hoping that love would seep through where words could not. In young children, the bipolar swings that adults experience over the course of days is sped up like a roller coaster. Russell's hyperactive peaks plummeted into depression or anger 15 to 20 times a day. The shifts were sudden, requiring only the slightest pressure on his hair trigger. 1 minute, he was bouncing off the walls so joyfully the house would shake. But give him a blue dinner plate instead of his favorite green one, and he would angrily sweep his arm across the table, smashing the food to the floor. I tried to assert authority, but as a single mother, it was hard to embody both the softness needed to get him through the day and the firmness required of discipline. He knew I had limits, and he didn't hesitate to exploit them. "I want a cookie," he once said while I was making dinner, pointing to the drawer on the top of the refrigerator. "We'll be eating in a minute," I said. "You can have one when we are finished eating." "I want one now," he screamed, pulling over a chair to climb on. I said after dinner. I firmly blocked his path with my body. At 8 years old, he was nearly my height and solidly built. His face grew red as he tried to push me away. It took all my strength to hold onto the refrigerator. "Now, you bitch!" he screamed, balling up his fists like the playground bullies who tormented him. He punched me until I moved. As physically aggressive as he was with me, it was his hearing and speech impaired little brother who took the brunt of it. They are 19 months apart in age, and they could not be left alone together. The kitchen knives were always under lock and key. When incensed, Russell would go into gory detail as to how he would chop off his brother's head and roll it down the street like a bowling ball. A therapist once tried to parse Russell's anger. They go on to blast Ivanka Trump by writing that she has displayed no political capital whatsoever in her father's White House. And that it's time to accept that there's a good chance she never will. They continue by saying liberals need to stop expecting Ivanka will do anything meaningful with her proximity to power, and that it would be pointless to continue to note her silent opposition to her father's agenda or paint her as a bastion of virtue amid Steve Bannon's alt-right swamp. They end the wine fest by coming to terms that Ivanka isn't going to save them, or anyone else, from the same policies her father, President Trump, is promoting. And she is not going to stand in his way as he, in their words, sanctions potentially unconstitutional discrimination from the Oval Office. These liberals are coming more unhinged with each passing day. I have a question for the political gurus over at the liberal rag Vogue magazine. Did you ever call out Chelsea Clinton for not taking her father, President Bill Clinton, to task for being a sexual predator? Please share if you agree Vogue should stick to fashion for anorexic women and stay out of politics. Scaramucci secretly tried to destroy Trump for 10 days on job. Here's what else he was hiding. Breaking reports from the White House Monday reveal that President Trump has fired Anthony Scaramucci from his position as communications director, just 10 days into the job. As the sudden move on President Trump's part is sending shockwaves through the political atmosphere today, disturbing information is surfacing about what Scaramucci did over the past 10 days. That making many wonder if he was simply a liberal plan sent in to incite chaos within the Trump administration. We all had high hopes that with the addition of Scaramucci to Trump's team, the White House leakers would finally pay their price for their ongoing treasonous antics towards our president. From day one, Scaramucci vowed to fire every last leaker, even if that meant firing every single person in the West Wing. But now it's appearing that Scaramucci's badass facade just a smokescreen, as the true reason he got a job as Trump's communication director is now coming to light. Breitbart reports that just days into his new position at the White House, Scaramucci's outlandish antics began setting off massive red flags for Trump and administration officials. Scaramucci's profanity-laced tirade to the left-leaning New Yorker magazine was only part of the issue, as the debacle began days before Scaramucci's rant to Ryan Lee began making headlines. Appearing on CNN's State of the Union before officially starting his job at the White House, Scaramucci revealed a confidential conversation he held with President Trump, going on to out the president as his anonymous source. The conversation was then used by CNN to perpetrate their ongoing Russian-Trump collusion hysteria. You know, somebody said to me yesterday, I won't tell you who, that if the Russians actually hacked the situation and spilled out those emails, you would have never seen it, he said. When pressed further about what he knew on Trump, like an idiot, Scaramucci went on to blab that the president was his source, even though in the previous sentence, he said he would not reveal his source. I talked to him yesterday. He called me from Air Force One. And he basically said to me, hey, you know, this is, maybe they did it. Maybe they didn't do it, Scaramucci said of Trump. CNN is Trump's sworn enemy, and leaking private details to CNN about his conversation with Trump should have been the giant red flag that prevented Scaramucci from landing the job. Trump's advisors were frantic, worried that he might accidentally spill the beans on Trump's other secrets. Right after blabbing about the Russians, Scaramucci provided fodder for the liberal media yet again, after his hot mic incident was then leaked to the liberal website, BuzzFeed. Breitbart reported, Scaramucci then got caught making some comments into a hot mic that the legacy media promptly leaked to left-wing BuzzFeed. That should have been a lesson to Scaramucci to not trust the legacy media, but Scaramucci learned that the hard way 3 days later when he made profane comments about former White House Chief of Staff Reince Priebus and White House Chief Strategist Steve K. Bannon to the New Yorker's Ryan Lee. According to the leaked hot mic audio that BuzzFeed obtained, Scaramucci said CNN was on the left but also reportedly argued that he is not some jerk-off salesman because he went to Harvard Law School. So when you're thinking I did this shit by accident, know that I did it on purpose. You understand what I am saying? Scaramucci was caught on the hot mic, explaining to a CNN executive why he called on a CNN reporter during his first press conference. From there, things began to rapidly deteriorate, as Scaramucci's profanity-laced tirade to the New Yorker dominated the news cycle for several days. Breitbart reported that Scaramucci then began butting heads with Jared Kushner and Ivanka Trump, who were reportedly fed up with former White House Press Secretary Sean Spicer, but that Scaramucci's ongoing antics only made things worse. Several days later, Scaramucci gave CNN more material for their anti-Trump hysteria, going on to say he wasn't sure if Trump was in favor of Russia's new sanctions or not, contradicting the White House's public stance that Trump was being tough on Russia. Scaramucci again cast Trump in a negative light with liberal reporters, where he gave different answers about whether Trump had been discussing pardons at the Oval Office. If that wasn't enough to make you convinced this guy was either incompetent moron or a liberal plant, Scaramucci then leaked intel about an active FBI investigation going on at the White House involving leakers, alleging that FBI agents had violated the agency's protocols and broke the law. Miraculously, Scaramucci still was not done inciting chaos at the White House. He then blasted out over Twitter that he could get people within Trump's administration in trouble with reckless tweets, making an idiot out of himself with the announcement that he had contacted the FBI over leaks, going on to ignite an uproar among legal experts and throughout Trump's Justice Department. Stephen Vladek, a professor at the University of Texas School of Law, spoke of the gaffe, saying, Stephen Vladek, if he really did reach out to Dodge and friends at the FBI to investigate a leak, yes, that would seem to be a violation of both the norms and rules governing White House contacts with the Justice Department, all the more so given that the information at issue is in the public domain. What are your thoughts on Scaramucci? Just an incompetent moron, or could something more sinister be at play? Being that he's threw Trump under the bus multiple times while talking to liberal reporters, it really makes you wonder. Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. H.T. Breitbart. Well, look who McCain took a call from right before changing his decision on repeal. Although Arizona Senator John McCain is facing a disease where the prognosis is dire at best, making it very hard to point out his treasonous actions of what might very well have been his last vote as a member of Senate, John McCain took a 180-degree turn only to spit on the American people and cast what turned out to be the deciding vote to kill what little chance President Trump had of repealing and replacing Obamacare. But what is even more furious is that it has been revealed that McCain received a call from former Vice President and Delaware Senator Joe Biden before the health care vote even took place, giving way to the belief that former President Barack Hussein Obama's own vice president and our all-time favorite female molester had actually influenced the Arizona senator to vote against his own party. Along with Biden's call, rumor has it that former Al Gore running mate, Joe Lieberman, also called him. Gee, I wonder what they promised him? McCain's vote is very strange since he himself was 100% for the repeal of Obamacare when Obama was still president. Sky News reports, John McCain's Obamacare vote praised by Chuck Schumer. The 80-year-old maverick is described as someone who strongly speaks truth to power after defying his party and Donald Trump. U.S. Senate Democratic leader Chuck Schumer has praised Republican Senator John McCain for voting against repealing Obamacare. Mr. Schumer said, "I have not seen a senator who speaks truth to power as strongly, as well and as frequently as John McCain. The very same courage he showed as a naval aviator in Vietnam, he showed last night. He's just a wonderful man. I treasure his friendship and just the fact of knowing him." Mr. Schumer also paid tribute to the two female Republican senators who also defied their party, Lisa Murkowski of Alaska and Susan Collins of Maine. And he is reported to have been near to tears, as he echoed the sentiments of Republican Majority Leader, Mitch McConnell, that the Senate now must move on. Urging members to turn the page in another way, Mr. Schumer said of Senator McCain, "All of us were so inspired by his speech and the life of the senator from Arizona. And he asked us to go back to regular order, to bring back the Senate that some of us who've been here a while remember." Senator McCain, who has been having hospital treatment for brain cancer, had been expected to save the bill for President Trump and his own party's leadership. But he and two other Republican senators voted against the key amendment, which was narrowly defeated by 51 votes to 49. Speaking about his decision to defy his party's leadership, the maverick senator urged Republicans and Democrats to work together for a fresh start on healthcare reform. Our inability to address the pressing healthcare needs of the American people with meaningful and lasting reform is inexcusable, he said. The vote last night presents the Senate with an opportunity to start fresh. It is now time to return to regular order with input from all of our members, Republicans and Democrats, and bring a bill to the floor of the Senate for amendment and debate. McCain, 80, joined Republican colleagues Lisa Murkowski of Alaska and Susan Collins of Maine in voting against the so-called skinny repeal, officially titled the Health Care Freedom Act. All 48 Senate Democrats also rejected it. The measure would have overturned the mandate that most individuals get health insurance and suspended a requirement that large companies cover their employees. It would also have delayed a tax on medical devices. Mr. Trump, who had made replacing Obamacare central to his successful campaign for the White House, responded on Twitter, saying those who voted against the repeal move had let the American people down. A longtime opponent of Obamacare, Mr. McCain said soon after the vote in the early hours of Friday morning, "From the beginning, I have believed that Obamacare should be repealed and replaced with a solution that increases competition, lowers costs, and improves care for the American people." The so-called skinny repeal amendment the Senate voted on today would not accomplish those goals. When you have Chucky Schumer praising you, you know you just screwed over the American people. Senator McCain is suffering from a devastating type of cancer where not many live to tell about it, but when it was time to get the treatment he went to the Mayo Clinic, which is one of the best hospitals and research centers in the nation. He didn't go, nor hasn't gone in decades, to the VA hospital, which is run by the very entity he thinks should run the medical system for us peons. The United States government. Why is the VA good enough for millions of vets but not for John McCain? While he himself condemned us peons to a single-payer healthcare system once Obamacare collapses? Time to call a duck by its name, Senator McCain. You have always been a fraud and a traitor to your party. But now you are also a traitor to the American people. I hope you can live with yourself. Who am I kidding? I bet whatever you were promised must be great. Please share if you want John McCain to resign from the Senate.